All right, today we're going to slow things way down and talk about something every gardener should know about and every gardener touches. But almost nobody is taught how to read everything on these packets correctly. And these are our seed packets. So if you've ever stood in a seed aisle and flipped these over and looked at all the text and said, God, I understand probably 10% of this. I feel like this should make sense, but it doesn't. You're not doing anything wrong. Most people were never shown or taught how to read these from start to finish and what everything on these seed packets means. And it's kind of crazy because it's understanding everything on there is required for success depending on the type of seeds that you want to grow. I want you to think of a seed packet as two things at the same time. First, it's a roadmap on how to be successful from start to finish with your seeds and the plants that you grow. And second, it's a down to the step-by-step instruction manual on how to be successful with that particular plant. So, and usually when gardens struggle or you struggle with a particular seed type, it's not your fault. It's that hidden in that text within the seed packet are some details that you might have overlooked depending on where you live and the type of soil and the type of exposure that you have. Not your fault. So we'll get started with this seed packet. I love these botanical interest seeds because they're true marketing. They have these lovely drawings and they're very attractive when you go in and walk around your garden center and you're looking for seeds. So if you start with the front, it's the part that gets you emotionally invested, right? It's the marketing oomph. You look here and you say, hell, tomato, look at how lovely those are. It's an heirloom, and some basic details right out of the gate, right? Big photo or illustration, a healthy plant, a romantic name that gets you hooked. But the single most important thing here is not only the plant name, where in this case is tomato, but also the variety, which is Cherokee purple, right? So these two things, the tomato and then the variety name, are not interchangeable. The variety name tells you the flavor, the color, the size, the disease resistance, probably how fast it grows and how much it can tolerate heat. And you can actually look up these different varieties depending on what you want to do. So two tomato plants can behave completely different simply because they're different varieties. So this is why experienced gardeners shop by the variety name. So you go in and you know exactly the type of variety that you want. So also on the front, you'll see words like heirloom, maybe organic. You might see a hybrid, the term hybrid. All of these dictate the way that these seeds, it doesn't mean that they're better or worse. It just tells you how the seed was grown or bred. An heirloom might have incredible flavor for a particular location in your country or geographic location. A hybrid might have been bred for better disease resistance. Organic tells you how the seed was produced. The right choice depends on your garden, not that particular label. So if we flip this over, and we have some information here on the front, all different types of data you can see, talks about frost sensitivity and when you can sow it, kind of a summary. But if you go to the back, this is where we get the details, right? So on this side, this is really where your garden succeeds or fails. And if you ignore everything else, look at some particulars on this side. First off is the days to maturity. So in this case, you can see that we have day to emerge, which is actually when the seed will germinate, and then maturity date, which is 80 days from transplanting. So that maturity date is one of the most misunderstood lines on a packet. This is not from when you bought the seed. It's from when you put the plant in the ground or you transplant it until harvest. So if something says 75 days, or in this case 80 days on this seed packet, if you plant late, that matters, right? Because you're going to have a maturity date that might be out of the climate that's required for that plant to grow. And this is a planting tool, not a promise. Here in the Sacramento area, we get very nice summers, very hot, very good for tomato growth in this case. So sometimes that maturity date will be a lot less. They'll grow a lot better. And so it depends on your environment. So it's just a guide that you need. You'll also see seed spacing and then thinning. So spacing and thinning are different, and we'll talk a little bit about a couple different things. So let's talk about planting depth, and you can see here there's a seed depth number on this particular seed packet, and that planting depth is one of the biggest silent killers of seeds. There's a simple rule that you'll only ever need, and most seeds need to be planted about twice as deep as it is wide. So in this case, a 1/4 inch. If you've seen tomato seeds, they're usually 1/8 of an inch or maybe a little bit smaller. If you put it too deep, it uses all its energy before it reaches daylight. Too shallow, it'll dry out with the heat summer. So if you're unsure, plant shallower is the rule, and most seeds want less depth than people think. Next is spacing and thinning, which are different, two different items. Spacing is really the part that nobody likes, and you'll see seed spacing and what we call final spacing. So spacing is how far you put between seeds. So in this case, you can see this one requires a group of 3 seeds every 24 to 36 inches. And then thinning is the second step you take. So when you plant, you use seed spacing, and then you use thinning once those grow. So if you plant 3 seeds and 3 bloom, you clip out 2 of those when they're 2 inches tall, so that you've got 1 seed, 1 plant that grows and can not share nutrients with other seeds. Good spacing improves airflow, root development, and the overall resilience of the plant. So if you've got them crowded, you're gonna have problems with airflow and maybe some type of fungus. The roots aren't going to develop properly, it's not going to get water and nutrients, and it's going to be subject to disease. So this spacing really solves more problems than fertilizer ever will, and us gardeners love to put a ton of plants in a really small place, which can be a recipe for disaster. So let's talk sun requirements. So obviously tomatoes require quite a bit of sun. When a packet says full sun, it doesn't mean bright shade. It means 6 or more hours of direct sunlight. Partial shade is 3 to 6 hours, and then full shade is less than 3 hours of sunlight. And there's something that the packets don't tell you, and that is that morning sun is gold. It's gentle, cooler, and plants respond to it better than that harsh afternoon heat, which can put the plant under stress. So this is where observation really matters, and you have to know your garden and how the sun actually goes across the sky and your exposure to that sun. Next is direct sow versus starting indoors. So you can see here there's 2 options on this seed packet, when to sow outside and when to start inside. Some plants are better at transplanting. They like to get a kickstart inside and grow during the end of winter, beginning of spring. So when you put them out, they're 6 weeks, 8 weeks old, and they get a jump start on the season. So direct sowing means this plant doesn't want its roots disturbed. It wants to be put in its end resting place where it's going to grow. Carrots, beans, peas, corn, they all want to be planted where they live. Some things that you can start indoors to give them a head start: tomatoes, pepper, broccoli. These handle transplanting just fine. In fact, they prefer to get that jump start on the season. So if you've ever had forked carrots, stalled beans, sulking squash, it's usually because the plant was started in a way it didn't prefer. Some quick advanced terms for a little confidence boost for you, and a few quick ones you'll see with tomatoes. You'll see determinate versus indeterminate. Determinate tomatoes are ones that essentially have a predetermined size. They're mostly bush tomatoes, and those used to make sauce. Roma is one example of those. And indeterminate are vine tomatoes. They continue to grow, and they'll grow really large, continue to grow throughout the season, and produce over and over and over. Annual versus perennial. Annuals need to be planted every year, and perennials will come back every year. There are biennials as well that only go for 2 years, like Digitalis foxglove. And then germination rate. I'll show you here on some Johnny seeds that I have. You can see that these were tested at a 92% germination rate. There's some seeds that are down as low as 60% germination, so it just means you have to plant a few more to get one to grow where you want and then thin out the others. So once you understand these, there's a lot of mystery that's taken out of these seeds. You can see I have quite a few older packets. In this case, these were tested back in August of 25. Typically seeds will last a year or more. I never throw seeds out. I always do a germination test. So if I have something like this packet, I'll take a few out, put them on a paper towel on a warm windowsill and see if they still germinate. And you can actually get your own germination rates based on a later date to give you a good feel that the seeds are gonna actually grow in your garden. So seed packets aren't all marketing fluff. You know, you look at this one, it's got a pretty picture, a bunch of pollinators on there. That's great, but you can tell a lot of things, right? So tell it's a perennial, full sun to partial shade. Echinacea will grow in both, and it's the Allen's Pride variety. So you can gain a lot of information from that front side and then read the back side. So remember that these are instruction manuals. So you flip it over and you've got all your detail in there, including what a seedling will actually look like. So these instruction manuals are written by people who know the plant inside and out. You can save these seed packets, take photos of the front and back, and keep them in your digital archive and refer back to them not only in this season, but future seasons. If you harvest your own seeds, you have that instruction manual. And once you learn how to read them, gardening becomes easier, right? And honestly, more enjoyable when you're not worrying about whether or not your seeds will pop. So thanks for watching the video, and go ahead and comment what's the most confusing thing you've ever seen on a seed packet. I'm sure there's ones that I didn't cover, and have a great green day. Bye-bye.